Hey everyone, I am here with Nicholas French. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Pleasure.
It's 99 degrees. We're here at the Dream Hotel. Maybe over there it's 97.
Yeah.
It's 99. I'm in the sun. We're at the Dream Hotel in New York City, and I'm so happy that we have this time with Nicholas because the NAHAs are coming up, and I wanted to talk to you about photo hair. First of all, tell us your experience with the NAHAs. I know you're a finalist in Avant-Garde, but what's the history here?
I didn't do it until about 7 years ago because I'm not very good at competitions, and my wife said, go in for a competition here, you never know. And so I've been in 10 finals, and I won 3 times for Avant-Garde, so that's in 7 years. So.
Yeah. She says you're not good in finals. Actually,
Yeah.
she's got the camera. Thank you so much, Carol. But no, you're great in competition.
It's appropriate we're in the Dream Hotel, but it's always a dream, isn't it? I mean, to be recognised, by your peers. And I was 3 times finalist in England for Southern Hairdresser of the Year in England many, many years ago. And so this is sort of reinventing oneself, I think, to go that extra yard, that extra, foot forwards, to try and do something, and different, not for the sake of it, but to do it to really bring this industry up to where it should belong with the media, to be recognised as artists, as fine artists. Like Great Vidal said, we should be artists, recognised as artists. I think we should be recognised as fine artists. What we do in Avant-Garde is not fantasy, but I want to make it into an art form.
Well, it is an art form, and yours are very sculptural. Want to give us the little history, how you came up with your idea here?
Everything starts with like a blueprint, and the blueprints are actually drawings that I do in white chalk on black paper to get the silhouettes right, because it's all about balance, proportion, and shape. And then I go to the idea, what's the mood of the picture, which is very important, because nothing must stand out. The hair, the makeup, the clothing, whatever it might be, the lighting, it all has to be like, wow, that's a picture. But you couldn't really pinpoint anything that stands out. It's just one vision, one idea. It's really right in your face, and that's what I love to do. So I always have a theme. When I started doing this many years ago, I had this sort of Last Empress sort of, cross-pollination of Asian-looking girls, and that really worked very beautifully. But I carried on the theme. So, the makeup doesn't really stand out because it has to blend with what we're doing creatively and artistically, and I think that's very, very important.
Well, I think each element is great, and I know you work with my team. I know David Matterich is actually up for Makeup Artist of the Year as a result of the makeup for that.
Fabulous, yeah.
And David Wijaya for fashion, and of course my Roberta Lagresti.
It's actually your team I've used.
It's a good team. I don't blame you.
So I have to thank you for that. It's fantastic. And, they have something. They always bring something to the table. The most positive people I've ever met, actually, because, they're so strong in their ideas as well. So we end up fighting for what we really want, but at the same time, they're more or less right. David Vidal came up with this massive, great wardrobe we had flown in from all over the world, In the end, we didn't use it. We just used something very simple, very clean.
And I think that's what makes it, because it allows the hair to shine in these.
Yeah.
So what are your tips for anyone entering NAHA? Since you've been so successful, what are your tips above and beyond assembling a great team? Well, let's start with that. How do you find a team?
That's the most important thing. You find a great photographer who more often than not has his own team, and trust him, because that's how he gets the results with his, photographic genius. And David and David were introduced to me. Really, I knew them before, but not as a team. And I feel that we've really had a wonderful experience, and the pressure is on us to deliver the goods. But at the same time, we feel very confident in each other's decision to what we do. So it's a terrific team, because we're only as strong as our weakest member of the team. We don't have a weak member.
And you're unusual, I know, in that you start plans months in advance.
Yeah.
And a huge budget. So fill us in.
I'm working on some ideas now, funnily enough. And this collection actually spurred off another idea I had, which is like Urban Warriors, because you can see with all these like Game of Thrones things going on, all these different medieval kind of films, it's sort of a tribute to women who actually fought in wars in the 15th century and the 14th century. They were like as strong as men, in fact not stronger in that respect. And you're seeing all these things coming out, like the Tudors and like all these Elizabeth the Golden Age and Game of Thrones especially. So I'm actually dressing models on the shows in half armor, half couture clothes, which sort of goes. So basically my photographic experience with David Vidaja and with David on makeup and Roberto started this sort of little embryo that sort of started to grow. So now it's going all over the world, this show, and people are loving it.
I saw your Urban Warriors. I saw it at the Fourth Dimension.
Very powerful, that's interesting. So now we're developing into almost like a Joan of Arc sort of theme, Actually, because haircuts look really good with the kind of wardrobe. So it's all another idea sort of slowly growing.
So what about budget? You know, how for a hairdresser out there who maybe doesn't have $50,000 or I don't know, that's what you spent, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Strangely enough, you'll find people. I mean, my budget is it's never more than $20,000, and I can do it for about 15. So it's worth really saving up, and just trying to do it. And do some test shots with some photographers. Some photographers you find want some interesting photographs of hair in their books, and they haven't got it. And you might even just throw the fee away, you know, help you out, you know. And that's what happens. Find young photographers. And the way to find young photographers is get great photographers like Roberto and all these other guys we work with, and get their assistants just as they're about to go into the photography side. That's what I used to do.
That's actually great advice, because I know Roberto's assistant is great. Yeah,
they use the same techniques, and that's what I used to do. I used to get, when I worked in England many years ago, like David Bailey's assistant was fabulous, you know, and Patrick Demarchier's assistant was great. So I used to say, oh, do you want to do some test shots? My hairdresser, I do great hair and whatever. Show them what you do, and it's like, okay, let's do it. You might get away with just the cost of a studio, you know, and get a stylist involved for credits, for editor, and you know, it all starts to work.
And what about the model?
Oh, the model's very important. I mean, when we started, Carol and I, in the business many years ago, one of the best photographs we ever did, because it was a headshot, was a typist from a pool next door on the lawyers, who had a wonderful face. And we cut all the hair off and whatever, and people said, wow, to this day they said, that's a fabulous photograph. They didn't realize she's 5'3". So you need to know what you have to do. If it's full length, obviously you're going to have somebody very great experience, who can really move, and very strong face, strong personality. It depends entirely what you're shooting. It's amazing what you can get. If you get the face, you get the attitude. And you know, it's like when you're doing clients in salons, if you understand the inside of the head, you'll get the outside right. So you've got to find a personality, not just a model, not just a face, because the personality comes through. And that's what we do when we cast. You know, like Roberto's great. So this girl's fantastic. I just used her. You look at her, comes through the door. I think, I don't know. You know, she's not that beautiful, but my goodness, in front of the camera, she comes alive. You know, my goodness, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what I know he looks for, and that's what the photographer looks for. Yeah. Can a model move? She can be beautiful, but then she starts moving she can't move on the camera, and she's all stiff and uncomfortable.
And for some of the shots, like the ones I did, you know, this sort of urban warrior thing that I'm doing, I'm in the finals for NAHA, I needed strong faces. I didn't like pretty face. I need people with strength to carry that hair off, to make it project it like it's a story, you know? It really comes from the heart when you photograph people like this. And I think that's very interesting. And we always do 2 shoots in the same day, just in case something doesn't work. You know, we did a shoot a while ago, which we lost, I think, by a point or something, they told me. And one of the hair pieces just didn't work. But I always have a reserve one to come into its place, because sometimes, you know, cinematically, it doesn't look good through the camera. So that's something you've got to really be aware of. Don't just turn up and do hair. You've got to be really well prepared with hair pieces, with wigs, with 3 or 4 different ideas. So if one doesn't work, you can just immediately get on to the next one.
Yeah, plan B. Yeah. It's always good.
We always do 2 shoots in a day. We do 6 shots.
Well,
you know, it's 2 totally different themes.
Well, it's great. Any other things that anyone should know out there?
I think, you know, what you've got to do is really work with hairdressers who are session hairdressers who really understand how to do hair through the camera. Really get used to that kind of element. So
well, and that's one thing that we should also point out. Like a hair could look great face on, and if you turned around, that model's got a billion bobby pins, and it's split down the middle and pushed forward.
I did a television commercial for Campari 100 years ago, and the director was Ridley Scott, who's a very famous film director today, but he was actually an advertising guy. So he started as a commercial artist, just a drawing artist. And he did these huge commercials, which were like films, and this big Campari ad with a big party on the rooftop. And the next day you have rushes in those days where they show you the rough film to see what they're going to edit. And he said, where is the hairdresser? This hair is awful. And I sort of went up and said, I'm really sorry. You know, how long have you been doing this business? I said, well, about 5 hours, actually. It's my first job. And he said, you sit next to me tomorrow and you look through the camera at every shot we do. And I looked through the camera. I learned so much. He said, the head is 5 foot wide in a cinema. You know, think about it. You know, you've got to get every detail right. So I worked with him for many years, and lots of other famous people. And every time they said, look through the camera. It might be a Panavision camera for film, or it might be a still camera. You know, I know it's all digital, but I don't do hair like digitally. I do it like the old-fashioned way, so it's perfect to start with. Because I don't like all this sort of retouching and everything else. I think that's a bit of a fallacy, you know.
Oh, yeah, and it makes everything kind of contrived.
I hate that, you know. So I'd go for the real deal.
So, last question, because I'm officially melting out here. We're glowing now.
We're actually in the jungle, isn't it? Actually, Maggie, we're actually in the
jungle. Outside. It's probably a nice, cool 72 degrees on the other side of the wall here, but we chose.
Blood pressure. This is just the heat. Yeah.
I very rarely glow like this.
Yeah.
Last question. I just came from Ted Gibson with great news about the Oscars. Any comments about that?
Well, I think it's like friends of mine were up for Titanic, you know, Simon Thompson and Tina Earnshaw up for the makeup for Titanic because hair never came into it, but Simon did the hair. So I think it's fabulous that, you know, hairdressers are going to at last be recognized, you know. We have some amazing film hairdressers, you know, Elizabeth Golden Age comes to mind, and the young Victoria, and had this wonderful new hairdresser called Jenny Shakur who did it, a brilliant woman, and I think that she's never been recognized, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
so I think that's going to open the doors up for people like, you know.
Yeah, so right now it's hair, it's makeup and hair,
That's
and
great. It's a
that's
huge
great.
move forwards, yeah.
And down the road, we hope hair gets its own category.
This is a very, very tough business. The film business is very tough.
I am actually melting.
Do we have a makeup artist in the house?
Is there a hair and makeup artist? Anyway, thank
My
you.
hair's going frizzy. Lovely to see you, Maggie.
It was
Take
so
care.
great seeing you. Thank you for meeting me on this very hot day.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Carol, for. Yeah, well, I'm going to go in the air conditioning. Thank you, Carol. We'll see you. Bye.
Well done. Is that all right?